Matt, thanks a million for taking the time to sit down here.
Oh, well, thank you.
And chat with us.
No, my pleasure.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to talking to you about your life in music for the next 5 or 6 hours. Peter, thanks a million for joining us.
Sure,
and don't just keep to the music. If there's anything you want to join in, or if I'm missing something, please hop in.
Sound,
I'll help greatly accept it.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to thank the Irish Traditional Music Archive for organising this and for giving me the opportunity. I feel very privileged to be sitting here. So, Mícheál Ó Súilleabháin to the Irish Traditional Music Archive.
Yes, indeed.
Honestly, it's great. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah, great work actually.
Yeah.
I suppose we make a start at the early years, and maybe if you start, maybe you'd like to tell us about how you started and what got you into it.
Well, I'm from Ballaghadereen and on the Mayo Roscommon border. Some people say it's Mayo, some people say it's Roscommon. I've always associated with Roscommon anyway. I went to the De La Salle school, the brothers' school there, for primary school, and they had a marching band there,
right?
And I just got interested and got a whistle, and I was trying to learn one of the tunes. And at that time, my father had stopped playing. He used to play, but he'd stopped for years. And I think he got tired listening to me trying to play the Men of the West. I think that was the first tune.
Right, yeah.
Lovely one march. Yeah. But he came home with a few drinks on him after work, and he had purchased 2 Clark C whistles in Jimmy Mulligan's hardware store before he came home. He used to work half day on Saturday, and the lads used to go for a drink then on the Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Anyway, he came back and he says, "Come on, get here. Let's have a go at that march we've been trying for the last month."
Brilliant.
Or whatever. So that was it. That's how we got started. And then I started learning the marches, and he was helping me out with them. And he took an interest in them. It was just with the fife and drum band in, and once I started in that, then he had a flute that he had brought back from America.
Right.
He'd been in America for 10, 15 years or whatever, 10, 12 years, and that was in the trunk in the house, and he used to rarely play it. And he used to take it out, I think for a couple of days every year, and he'd soak it in linseed oil or whatever.
Right.
And
keep it right.
And he'd leave it soak for about 2 days, and then he'd play it for a few days or maybe a week.
Right.
And then it disappeared again.
Yeah.
But I only found out after the reason why he had stopped playing. I'd only found out afterwards. There was 8 in our family, but there was only 3 of us lived.
Wow.
The first, I think, the 3 of them were stillborn or just after birth, and there was 2 girls. Then one was about 7 or 8 when she died, but there was one of the girls was, I think, about 3 or about 3 before she died. But anyway, he was. They were very attached to one another. This particular kid, and she wouldn't go down until when he come home from work. He had to play her a tune before she'd go down.
I love it. Yeah.
So he's very attached to her. And then when she died, he just stopped playing.
Wow.
And I never knew that until after the funeral. My mother told me.
Wow.
Never knew it.
And where were you in the family, Matt? In
At the runt of the litter.
You're the youngest, right? Okay, you're the youngest, right? God, that was awful tough, though, wasn't it? That was awful tough on your parents.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Well, you see, I didn't know a thing about it.
Yeah.
I didn't. He didn't. He kept a lot of things to himself too.
Sure.
But we're all a bit like that, I'm afraid.
So then, like you got the music in the house. Like your father was your first teacher.
Oh yeah, like he taught me lots of tunes. Yeah. And
was your uncle a flute player as well?
My uncle Matt was a
flute player as well. Yeah. And like, would there have been music in the house, or would it have been sessions, or?
Not really, no. There would be on occasion, maybe one or two in the year now.
Right.
Frank Mulvey, who would have been married to a first cousin of mine, who would have been a daughter of Matt's, who would have been my uncle.
Right. Yeah.
Flute player. They used to come up and they'd bring Fred and Peter.
All right. Yeah.
Right. Fred Flynn and Peter Horton.
Yeah.
And Willie Coleman.
Right.
Used to come up with them.
Wow.
And then I used to go on holidays down to Killarney,
Right.
where Frank Mulvey lived,
Yeah.
and he was a guard in Killarney.
Right.
And he used to bring me up to Willie Coleman when I go down for,
Brilliant.
the week during the summer or whatever it was. Yeah.
I grew up playing Willie Coleman's jig, and then it was only when you were doing that gig with Artie and John Carty and Brian McGann, the Cobblestone, when he said, like, you put the name Willie Coleman's on the jig. That.
Oh yeah, but that was it.
Yeah.
He used to send me little, when I'd meet him,
Yeah.
he'd be playing to me, so like that or whatever, and he used to put them on a little reel-to-reel
Right.
tape,
Yeah.
and he'd post those up to me.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was probably 4 or 5 of them, but they're long gone. I don't know where they are now.
I saw a lovely picture of yourself and a bunch of lads and girls the same age of you playing the Ceilidh Band. Had you Ceilidh Band in Ballaghadereen when you were a teenager?
Yeah, I had an next door neighbour, Padder Noon. He was an Irish teacher in the technical school where I went after the primary school.
Yeah.
And there was a few lads, lads interested in the music and
Yeah.
playing a little bit,
Yeah.
and he was very enthusiastic and he played the fiddle himself.
Right.
Well, he mightn't have been great, but he was
Yeah.
a good old player and mad about the language.
Right.
He'd bring us around around to the feshes and flies and that. We'd be entering competitions and
Having a crack.
we used to go, if he couldn't get another car, and sometimes that was the case, when that many people had cars at the time, he'd hitch up the trailer. He had a trailer for cattle. He was farming in a small way now. He'd have a couple of bullocks and that. And that's another story. But anyway, he'd clean out the trailer and fill it with straw and put a bit of tarp over it.
Yeah.
And then the fight was everybody wanted to get into the trailer.
Of course, yeah, it's a crack, like, yeah.
Young fellas or whatever. But health and safety didn't come into it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Not a thing wrong with it. We got on the finest, but it was great. He was great. Like he was very helpful.
So then, like, had you a bunch of friends when you were growing up in Ballaghadereen who were playing music as well?
Well, there's just a few that were involved with the band, with the Ceilidh Band. Really, there wasn't much appreciation for it outside of the families that were, that were into the music.
Because I was really interested in that, because I mean, obviously I grew up in Dublin, and I was lucky there was flute playing in my parish, but it was the same thing. It was the families that were interested in music, and nobody else.
Yeah.
Was into it, and in fact didn't have much regard for it.
Exactly.
Was it the same? Was it?
Oh,
Yeah.
we get slagged off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's gas. Yeah. But here's the thing.
We won with that little Ceilidh Band. We won an under 18 All Ireland, I think, in Mullingar.
Brilliant.
Whenever the All Ireland was that right. Yeah.
But there was I think I recognised Brendan Griffin in it. Was Brendan? Was Brendan in it? Yeah. I totally recognised
The book from the bridge.
Oh yeah, the book from the bridge. Yeah. But
you could write a book about that fella.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, what a great man.
But he's a good fella, good friend of mine.
No, because because like Paddy Lacken is often, like, Paddy went to the same school as me in Dublin. He went to Cloisterweir, and he was a few years ahead of me. And Paddy has often said about, he like the slagging and fairly hardcore slagging that he was getting in school for playing the fiddle. And by the time myself and Sean Potts got there, it was actually fairly acceptable, if not even kind of semi-cool, to be playing traditional music in Cloisterweir. And like, I actually reckon that it was yourselves in the Bothy Band that smoothed the way for the rest of us.
Well, I was just going to say that I got me revenge in a nice way.
Yeah.
When the Bothy Band started, I remember we were anytime we were, whether we were in Athlone or we played in Ballaghadereen or whatever. All the heads that were giving me a hard time when I was learning how to play. They were
gas.
there full on, and you know, turned out to be big fans of the music.
Yeah.
And like through the Bothy Band.
Through the Bothy Band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, some of them really got into it, like, and started following down.
Absolutely, yeah. The Bothy Band did attract an awful lot more people to the music. Just so when you were growing up at that time, like, who were the people that you were listening to then, apart from the lads you were playing with, obviously, and
What were the McDonagh brothers from Ballaghadereen, like they I just loved those men. There were three bachelors, like, they were characters. They were lovely men.
Yeah.
But like, I used to visit them, and I remember meeting them through my father, like, they were friends of my father, and Tommy and Michael Hunt as well, like, they, you know, when I was starting off, and my uncle Matt, and on occasion when I was I'd go on holidays down to, during the summer I'd go down for a week or two down to an Aunt Molly, who's from Marlow, actually from where the Piper Anderson was born.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same, like, there's a cluster of houses, mud wall houses, and the remains of them are still there.
Right.
But Anderson's was one of them.
Okay.
Molloy's was in another one, and there was O'Hara's, and there was 6 families.
Right.
All small little mud wall cabins, like attached to one in a row, you know. So, and for some reason they called it Chinatown.
Right. Well,
why? I don't. I've still to find out.
Gas.
I have to see.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. That's a story.
But there was a load of players when I was down in Marlow, Lissanani. You had Jimmy McGethrick. Like, he was the next small farm to my uncle Matt.
Right.
And then on the other side you had a man called Packy Dowd, fiddle player, very light touch, lovely player. Yeah. He would have been a relation of Shamey Dowd's and Joe Dowd. Joe Dowd, the fiddle players. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
He was that part. And the Finns, there was still the Tom, Mary and Tommy. Yeah. But I didn't really know them at that time, no, but they were just in the same parish as well, yeah.
So then, like, for you learning music, were you getting formal lessons, or was it when you happened to meet these people, you were picking up tunes, or were people actually pulling you aside and teaching you tunes, or how did you learn your tunes?
I learned them by ear from any of the tunes from my father, like that. That's just picked them up. He'd be playing, he'd chip away at them. Yeah. And you know, like when you're 15 or 16, you know, you learn to say the boys of the lot, like, learned it his way, and and he'd be reading the paper there, and you'd start getting inventive and maybe putting this or that into it, and the paper would get a shape. he was kind of corrective of any sort of flourish, you know, that you might attempt to put into it. Yeah. And he would say, "That's not the way I taught you that tune now. Well, go back and play the right way." Yeah. You know.
I heard that before as well.
No, you heard it. I was going. Yeah, would you be getting that? Would you? I think every parent does that. I think I do as well.
Probably wrongly, I don't know, but you just Anyway.
So, like, it was all by ear, no notes. You weren't.
No, well, when I was with the band, we learned the ABCs.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I stuck with. I didn't like. I can read staff notation, but very slowly. I mean, I can work out a 6/8/4/4 or maybe a 9/8. You know, but once it gets into awkward keys, or you know, I'd have to hear it really. But what I ever did was you know, I'd be maybe going through a book and checking out, just follow and say, well, what does that sound like? And I'd laboriously go over it, and I'd get the skeleton of the tune. Yeah. And once I got the track where it was going, then put that away, and I'd put the 2 feet up on the desk, and
you'd go at it yourself.
Fool around with it, and just work, play around with the phrasing until it settled into the way you felt about the tune.
Totally. No, I guess.
And then you could, well, you could stand or fall on that. You know what I mean? It depends on how approached it then, you know. But
You mentioned about your father rattling the paper when you're putting in a flourish.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm very interested to know where the flourishes came from. Like, I mean, were you spending hours and hours and hours practicing? Like, I mean, your technique was so highly developed. Like, I mean, where did that come from?
I used to play. I got into the habit of playing an hour a day, about
Yeah.
an hour, and then they went on. Then if I was in form, I'd play 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, half an hour of me homework and
Yeah.
an hour and a half.
That's
and
flute. Yeah.
I just got into the habit of it, and
Yeah.
it's like anything else. If you stop doing it, you start feeling a bit guilty about something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you're feeling anxious. Or, I suppose it's like the same thing if you're jogging or running every day, and then you
Yeah.
miss a day or two. You feel
Yeah, absolutely.
you don't feel quite right about
Yeah,
it.
no, I know exactly what you're saying. But like when you were doing that, were you just playing tunes, or were you actually were you picking a tune and working on that tune and getting a setting for that tune, or trying to do something with it?
Well, you'd get it. You'd get a structure like that just suited you the way you play, and you know, get phrasing and try and phrase it that it doesn't interfere with the flow of the tune. And every tune is different, and you try and express it the best way you can. You know, and you know, they sort of settle into your into your makeup, if you like, and you just kind of get it in. You soak it in as best you can, and then express it like in the best way you can. It's a very roundabout way of saying it, no, but you know.
No, it's not. No, I totally get it. It's so like I'd feel that about tunes as well. Each tune has its own personality, and it's a matter of getting into the tune's personality to find out what it has.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it.
Do you when you find a tune's personality, or you know, a shape of a tune, do you adapt your tone to the tune, or do you notice that you're doing it, or is it something that happens naturally?
It's probably naturally, yeah. It's like, I mean, when you're starting off, you know, we're like in the early days, like, you know, when you're in the teens and early, maybe late teens, early 20, I'd be conscious of the way I'd phrase the tune. You know, I'd actually be thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then as things progress, you just it just happens automatically.
It happens,
You know, and it just works itself.
Yeah. Like
instinctively, you know.
Yeah. Well,
but it takes a while to work into that. You know, it's no use saying it just. Well, maybe it does with some people, but that's the way. I'm just being honest.
No, I feel as well. I mean, like when you learn a tune, like the hardest thing to get really is the phrasing at the start, and then when you have that, the rest will start to come in. Yeah. But it's just that your technique is so highly developed. I mean, it's just like were you locked in a cave practicing rolls? What were you doing? Like, you know?
No. Well, I mean, I remember Willie Coleman. Now he was you know, he was helpful in the very early days. You know, he was. I liked Willie, and he's a lovely character, a lovely man, and he had very heavy bronchitis,
right?
Very bad chest, and he'd be playing, you'd barely hear the tune, and he was a real lovely light touch to his fiddle playing as well. But you'd hear his chest wheeze and his loving, you know. But he was a lovely man and a lovely player, lovely tunes. But he also played a bit in the whistle, and you know, he'd I remember one or two nights just sitting down with me and you know, going through one or two tunes and working the phrases.
John, like what you're saying there is a thing that very much was the same in my life in terms of how I learned music. Is that the generosity of neighbours and older musicians, just going out of their way to being helpful. Seems to be coming across. Like, I mean, like I think the traditional music community is very special in that way.
Yeah, but I used to go after it. You know. I used to go after it.
Yeah.
And even then, when I was in Dublin, I used to travel back and forth. You know, back down home. Yeah. And then when I was at home, I used to frequent a place, Cosgrove's, Dominic Cosgrove's pub in Boyle. Right. Now it's long gone now, but Dominic and May were great characters, and they loved the music. And Friday and Saturday nights they had sessions there, and who would have been there? Peggy McGrath, when she was alive, yeah. She was one of
Well,
the early
yeah.
women flute players.
Yeah,
and a good
absolutely.
one
I
too. She
remember.
was a
Well,
good
yeah.
player.
I noticed it.
And Josie McDermott, and he'd be there, and there's Kevin Meehan used to play saxophone. Actually, Josie and Kevin used to play two C melody saxes,
Right, yeah.
and they used to play reeds and jigs on
Yeah.
them. It was amazing. It was great.
My uncle Paddy did as well.
Huh?
My uncle Paddy did as well. It was
Yeah.
a thing from that era, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, Josie used to play in a dance band as well.
Yeah.
See, so he was,
Yeah.
but he was a convert to the traditional stuff. But anyway, we used to. Patsy Hanley used to be down there as well, and the McDonoughs would be in now and again, and whatever, you know, because they were just down the road down by Lough. And I used to I'd call down to a friend of mine, John Gaffney, who played Ballaghadereen and played a bit in flute
I met
as
John
well.
with you actually.
Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah.
He's dead now.
Oh, that is.
Well, yeah, but anyway, I'd land down from Dublin for a weekend, and the first thing before I get to the house, I'd call into John because he was a panel beater, and a bloody good one too. But like he spotted me coming, and he said, "Right, where are we going?"
There you go.
Right,
Yeah, absolutely.
Tidying up the hands. I said, "Give me an hour."
Yeah, yeah.
I go back down to the house, and then I come back up, and he'd have the clothes changed. He'd have out of the gear,
Yeah, all set to go.
and off we go. You know, and it could be anywhere. It could be down to Gorchin, or it could be to Charlestown, or you know, or to the McDonoughs.
Right.
Yeah.
When you'd call up to the house, like, would you have a few drinks them in the house and play a few tunes, or what was it
In
called?
the McDonoughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is true. Like one time, like we still regular. We'd bring in like a whiskey or a half bottle or something like that.
Yeah.
Not that they wouldn't have it there anyway themselves, indeed, but you just do that anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
But they drop everything and they come in and they start playing, you know.
Well,
Well, there's two of them. The Paddy, he used to sit beside the fire, like, and he had his eyes were like a grey, like a bloodhound, you know, from smoking woodbines and he had a bad chest as well.
Right.
And he used to play the flute, but he had stopped playing.
Yeah.
But he'd be whistling tunes for Mícheál and Lawrence.
Right.
You know, he'd be reminding them of tunes to play.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember down there one weekend and I got two grand old tunes, and they said, have you a tape recorder? I said, well, I have. I have. He said, well, bring it in and we'll record. I said, no, I'll learn them the old way. Yeah. And they started laughing at that, fair enough. So they ran over the tunes. It wasn't difficult things or anything like that. And lovely tunes, nailed them, and off we went, and you know, had plenty of drink. You could drink and drive in those days. And well, you couldn't, but you did. But anyway, the following day was Sunday. I was going back out to Dublin, and damn it if I could think of the two tunes.
Oh yeah.
So I said, I could
Back out.
hit back down to Ballaghadereen,
Yeah.
down to the lads, and they landed in. They were kind of surprised to see me. I said, I can't remember the tunes. Oh, come on, go in. More fun. So anyway, they played the tunes, had them in.
Yeah.
Once
They
played
were
them, had them in,
they were there.
and then went off to Dublin then. So,
Do you fancy playing a couple of tunes in that era?
yeah, yeah.
I'd love to hear some.
Johnny Henry's I got that one off Johnny Henry, the first one.
Right.
But sort of in similar circumstances. And the second one, and then play another one then after this. It's a bit like Drowsy Maggots, called Handsome Sally.
Right.
But this is the way the lads used to play it now. you know.
Yeah.
Give me a rattle of that.
Yeah. tunes. You were saying you used to get rattled with the paper the odd time as well, did you?
Well, if I was playing it wrong, I suppose I would. I was probably playing it wrong more times than right anyway.
Just in terms of flute playing, like it's kind of a hard one. Like, what do you value most in flute playing? And Peter, you as well. You're getting it easy right here. But I mean, what do you think is the most important elements of flute playing?
It's to express the tune, and it's as best you can, you know. Hopefully you have tone and technique, and to utilise that to help to express the piece of music. Yeah.
Well, like tone and technique would be. I know when I take up the flute, if I'm not getting the right tone out of it, I mean it's a nightmare for me. That it's tones.
Well, that's practice, really, you know. And flutes are I think that they have to be the toughest of pretty much any of the instruments.
I think so as well. I agree with you.
You know, because you have well, memory, you have your fingers, but it's the amateur and the you know, and if you stop playing for a week, I mean, if I stop playing for a week now, it takes me a few days. It's harder to get back up on the horse if I step away from it from any length of time. Yeah, it's just that bit harder to get back up on it again. You know, I'll get onto it.
I've often wondered about you. Like, do you have a daily routine of practicing? To keep it this level, like, you know?
I used to, but not now. No, I don't. No. But I'd chip away. I'd leave the flute out, and I might just sit down and decide to play a tune, and then that might, an hour later, I might still be at it.
Yeah.
Or I might just play the tune and put it away and move on again. You know, that's kind of the way I'm doing it now, I'm afraid. Yeah.
But Peter, like, when you were growing up, was Matt playing?
Yeah. You used to practice a lot, yeah.
Oh, I'd play a lot,
yeah. But it was always in the background, like, you know, it would be,
like,
you'd find a spot in the house.
I mean, it comes across in your playing. I mean, you can't have been, like, that level of technique and like, I mean, you were taking on amazing tunes and making them your own. So, I mean, like, there had to, you know, the work had to be there as well.
But that's all part of the fun as well, you know. Like, you'd be picking at tunes that maybe accordion tunes or fiddle tunes that can be a bit contrary for flute playing.
Certainly.
And just, you know, that's fun trying to figure it out, and maybe you might change the key or something like that. It mightn't suit, but that's
like solving a puzzle.
Yeah, that's all part of the fun, you know. That's what keeps it interesting.
But I mean, like, so, like, did you have your own room in the house that you used practice in, or? Yeah. It's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like, so that was part of the daily routine. Like, so, like, you'd be down there.
I remember I have a room here, and I had one down in Ennis as well when I lived in Ennis. It was in Ennis, lived in Ennis. If you remember, you were down there.
I was never in your house in Ennis, actually. No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh. Yeah, but anyway, I used to go in there. I'd spend hours in there.
Yeah.
I'd just be having a few pints in Kelly's, maybe up at 1 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'd get up then around 10 o'clock, and I'd go for a run. I'd run maybe, I used to jog a lot, and I'd run for a mile or 2 or 3, usually a mile or 2. Back, have a shower or something to eat, and then into the room. Yeah. And I could be there for hours, you know. Yeah. And actually, I remember I had a little terrier, a black and white fella. Yeah. And when I was playing in the room, I'd play away and like I tap my foot. Yeah. But for whatever reason, it was just some little fella, like a little fox terrier. Yeah. But for whatever reason, he used to come in and he'd lie on me. He'd lie on the foot, not the quiet one, but the one that was tapping. I'd be playing away and I'd shoot him off, and he'd back and go, whatever buzz he got out of it.
Absolutely, yeah. This is his way of keeping you company. Like, I'm in this as well. Like,
but it was great, and I used to enjoy him. But we're talking about saxophones. Yeah. I was given a present of a C melody, right? Bush or C melody sax, and I decided I'd have a go at that. Yeah. And now, any time I ever started to play, wherever the dog was, as soon as he heard me playing, he'd be into the room, or he'd scratch at the door, and I'd let him in, and then he was straight over, and he'd be onto the. And anyway, when I started playing the sax,
Yeah.
I started squeaking and scolding. Anyway, he came as far as the door,
Yeah.
and he started to howl.
Good dog.
So that was one. I said, Jesus, maybe this maybe not be a
This
good
might
idea.
be for me.
So then there was another one, and another time, shortly after that, it was Easter. It was Easter Sunday. You know, the Easter parade.
Yeah.
This is in Ennis, and there was a fella coming down with a pony and trap to join in the decorated for the parade.
Yeah.
He was coming down the hill, and the windows. It was lovely, fine morning, like, and the window was open, and I started blasting on the sax, trying to play it. Now, wasn't it? Jesus, the horse went up in the air and bolted, like, took off. Your man couldn't.
That's brilliant.
I met him in the pub afterwards, but he didn't say to me what he was saying.
That's great.
That gave me the hint that maybe sax playing isn't my forte.
So did you drop the sax again?
I put it back in the box.
Yeah. Did you ever try the pipes?
I did badly though.
Did it? Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
Because like there is piping technique in
well, I
your
mean,
brain.
I love the. We all love the pipes, you know, but they're a rare instrument. I mean, you really have to be focused to play those things.
Yeah. But I mean,
and I was very fortunate too. Like, I mean, with the pipers that I did, like Liam, he was one of the first I came across when I went to Dublin.
Right.
You know, I was playing with Liam then.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Like you moved to Dublin in '64, was it?
Mm.
And Bolton Street, and so.
Bolton Street.
Bolton Street.
I was in there full time. For 4 years.
And so, like, was it head in the books, or were you out and about playing tunes and meeting lads and having the crack? And
first year I was there, I was sort of in shock. I didn't play at all.
Right.
I practically didn't play for a year.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to catch up with different subjects that we never did down the country.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, so I was trying to catch up, and but then there was a friend, a lovely man, Paddy Fallon.
Right.
You might remember him.
I actually
He used to play the bodhrán, and he was a barber in Drumcondra.
Yeah.
And we had a house up in Santry, and right beside where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
So started bringing me to the Church Street Club.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And either he or Johnny, my older brother, would bring me down to the Church Street Club.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So that was.
And how was that? How were you received by like John Egan and?
Oh, very warmly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I was very shy, like, and I was kind of lurking in the background, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know, the group of musicians that would be lurking in the background, and John used to have a round robin.
Right.
You know, so at some time, some part of the night, he'd decide to do. Everybody had to sing or play the solo, or do whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was in the back shitting myself.
Yeah,
you know. And I tried to dodge it, and Jesus, he insisted, back me out. Me out, sitting on it, out in front of everybody. So. But anyway, I played, and yes, I got thunderous applause.
Well, yeah.
And he was very pleased with me anyway. So that gave me a bit of encouragement then. Yeah. So I used to be down there most Wednesdays then.
John Egan was a neighbour of mine, Peter, and in Navan Road. And he actually, John Egan actually, he heard me play a tune in the church, and then he walked about 1.5 miles to my mother's house and knocked on the door and said, "Is the young lad around? I'd like to teach him a few tunes." I mean, that was
wow.
Isn't that some generous thing to do? Like, it really was, you know.
He was a lovely man. Yeah,
he was. I mean, I was so grateful to John for that, like, you know.
Yeah.
But I was never in the Church Street Club, but I've heard so much about it, you know. It seems to have been, you know.
Yeah, who used to come in? What do you call him? Jesus, I'm losing. O'Connor, Des. Des O'Connor.
Another neighbour of mine.
Huh?
He was another neighbour. Yeah.
He had some really good music.
Yeah.
And he was just down the road in Capel Street.
Yeah.
Like when I was in Bolton Street, I had an hour and a half off.
Right.
Every day for lunch.
Yeah.
So like you'd have your lunch and you'd have an hour to kill kind of.
Yeah.
So I used to wander down and annoy John. We were talking to John.
John Kelly.
John Kelly, he used to play tunes for me inside in the shop.
Yeah, lovely.
You know, they'd be around
Great.
half 1 or 2 o'clock in the day.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And I'd go down, if I wasn't with him, I'd wander down to Des.
Yeah.
Des would be working on,
Yeah.
like, they used to call Bolton Street College their Honda House.
Right.
Because all you could see lines of Honda 50s.
Right.
All the students had Honda 50s. And Des was the main
Man for doing them.
for overhauling them
Right.
and repairing them.
Yeah. Well.
So I used to go into him and he used to play tunes for me.
Yeah. And Des' son Brian went to school with me. We were in the same class in school together. Very good whistle and flute player.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then
Yeah, I remember one. I was asking would he make a tape for me,
Yeah.
and he said sure. He says come down, and he says come down on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I arrived down on Saturday, and he says no. I said I'll make that tape for you. He said but I want you to do something for me.
Yeah.
And he brought me out the back.
Yeah.
And there was an old warehouse out the back, and it had an earthen floor that was probably there since the 16th century.
Yeah.
And it was as hard as it was
Yeah,
as tough as concrete.
Yeah.
It was all uneven, but he was going to put a concrete base in the shed or in the warehouse, and he says, "Now there you are," and there was a pick and a shovel.
Oh, Jesus, lovely.
he says, "You work away at that now." He says, "And I'll record the tunes for you."
Right. And
Yeah,
did you?
fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay.
fair play to you.
So
Yeah.
I started, but Jesus, I only got a section of it. Like it
Yeah,
was just, it was like
Yeah.
beating concrete.
Yeah.
But he did. He was a good character.
I know from over the years, chatting over the years, like you played a lot in the old Shieling, out in the Holt Road.
That's right. After James Keane used to play there, and
Right.
James just kind of had the resident traditional spot for the ballad sessions.
Yeah.
And then when he was heading off for States, myself and Tommy,
Right.
Tommy Peoples,
Yeah.
took that slot.
Yeah.
I'm there for a couple of, I don't know, 6 months or a year. I can't remember now how long we were there, but Tommy went off to join the police then,
Right.
which he did.
Yeah.
But that thing lasted about 6 months as well.
Right. Wasn't his vocation.
It wasn't his, you know, it wasn't his vocation, that's for sure.
Yeah. But and then so, were you only in the old Shieling for the 6 months? I thought you were there longer, but so it was.
Oh Jesus, that was only with
Tommy,
Oh, I
yeah.
was there for years.
Yeah. No, I
A couple
thought you were.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Liam, I was with Liam for about 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
With Liam, myself and Liam used to do Liam O'Flynn.
Yeah.
And then he went when Planxty then went professional,
Yeah.
he was gone. And I was doing with Paddy Maloney.
Yeah.
And that's how far back I go.
Yeah,
Paddy,
exactly. Yeah. So this would be what, late 60s, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 70 maybe.
Right,
early
okay.
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Chieftains sort of took off, and then I was with Mick Mulcahy.
Right. Yeah.
Corey,
Yeah.
Mick did it. Who was Kieran O'Reilly,
Right,
who
yeah,
died
yeah,
recently.
yeah.
Kieran was a good, very fond of Kieran.
Yeah.
We were good old pals. We used to have great discussions
Yeah.
about anything and everything.
I met him once with you as well. actually.
Remarkable man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely man.
Yeah.
Who else was with? Oh yeah, Charlie Lennon.
Right.
I was with Charlie a good while. Yeah,
Wow.
myself and Charlie
Yeah.
played for a good while.
How many nights a week were you out there? Like,
I was there 5 nights, sometimes
Wow,
6 nights a
wow.
week.
so it was nearly a job, like. You know?
Huh?
It was nearly a job, like. Was it? It was.
Well, yeah, we used to get, we used to get 3 or 4 quid, £3 a night, and
Yeah.
which wasn't bad then. you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we used to usually drink the profits by the
Oh, sure, yeah, but-
before the night was out.
But it must
We'd
have
get
been.
an
Must have
extra
been
quid in for Saturday night.
Right.
Yeah.
it must have been great. Like, I mean, top it on to job training. Like, it must have been great training for what came afterwards in your life. Like that you were on stage every night, nearly playing music.
It didn't really.
No.
I'm probably the worst stage person in the. Jesus, I'm useless at that sort of stuff. Yeah.
But
You need a Paddy Maloney for that sort of thing. I couldn't do that to save me life.
Paddy was a master of it. He was an absolute master.
Yeah.
Then, the whole Bothy Band, did the Bothy Band, how did the Bothy Band come about?
Well, that's Dublin being, it was a very small scene at the time,
Yeah.
you know, and Gail Inn ran a few concerts, and I was asked to come along with Tony McMahon and Paddy Keenan and Trían and Mícheál Ó, and yeah, we did a few of those, and it I remember we were down in Fecal. I remember playing, and we played a few of them anyway, down in Cork, and like we were all kind of known as solo musicians, solo players, and we'd go up and we'd do our thing, and I'd go up and Dónal would back me, and Mícheál would come up, and Trían would back him, or Trían or Dónal.
Yeah.
But we had nothing set for the end of the night, you know what I mean? So we kind of said maybe we should have a finale type thing.
Yeah.
So we'd have one set or two sets, and then there was 3 sets, and then it turned into, I think it was Shocked or so, with Tony McMahon, and he bowed out of it, and then I think it was 1691 or something.
Was Liam Weldon in that?
Yes, he
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Liam was. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was good. Yeah.
And was Paddy Lack in it?
Oh yeah,
Paddy
Paddy
was
was
in
in
there,
course, he was. Yeah. Paddy was in the early stages.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so that morphed into the Bothy Band then, the 1691?
Yeah, like Paddy decided to he was with he was RT, I think, at the time, yeah.
Or the Fire Brigade, maybe?
Paddy, I can't remember.
Yeah,
He was at whatever he was. Anyway,
Might have been RT.
he decided not to go, like there was talk of the band going professional and stuff like that, you know, which I was pretty unsure of as well, more so than most of them, I think, because like I had the so-called steady, secure pension.
You were in Aer Lingus at the same, yeah.
So I was a bit anxious about it, but Paddy decided not to do so. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Tommy Peoples came on.
Tommy came in then.
Yeah, Tommy was on it then.
But so you'd done a bunch of gigs as the Bothy Band at that stage, and then
We had done a few with Paddy. Yeah.
and then what year was it that you decided to go professional?
Oh, geez, 75, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got married in 74.
Yeah.
But then I was in a quandary, like I didn't know, I wasn't quite sure what to do, and I was talking with Gerard, and I said, we should try it, you know.
Yeah.
So I got a leave of, well, I didn't get the leave of absence initially, but that's another story. But the fellow that turned me down would have been a very good friend of mine, and a great pal of my older brothers, who also worked in Aer Lingus.
Yeah.
So I knew him quite well, you know.
Yeah.
But he was very official when we were in at work, but outside of work, like we were pals, you know. I used to swim with him regularly out in Portmarnock.
Right.
And go for drinks with him. And
Yeah.
then you come back into work, and I used to work in the overhaul, engine overhaul, and he was just down the line.
There wasn't any element of him looking out for you.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
That's why he turned me down. He called me into the office after I got turned down.
Yeah.
And he says, I suppose you're wondering why you were turned down.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I was.
Yeah.
I am, yeah. And he says, well, he says, you can blame me for that.
Wow.
And I said, what? Jesus.
Yeah.
There was only the two of us in the office, so I could talk like that.
Yeah.
What in the Jesus Christ, why'd you do that to me?
Yeah.
You know, and he says, listen here, he says, if you want to travel and see the world, he says, I'll put you in a position where you can. He says, if you knuckle down, he says, knuckle down to the job. He says, I'll get you the engine and airframe courses. Yeah. You know, and you clock up those, and then off you go. You travel around the world with them, which a lot of lads did. Yeah. But I said, oh yeah, well, okay, you know. Anyway, shortly afterwards, Zambia were opening up their airline, and they had no high-tech staff. Right. And of course, he was and he was about to get married, and
Yeah.
he was a big drinking man, and
Yeah.
he didn't have a lot behind him, like financially.
Yeah.
So though he was offered big money to go to Zambia for,
Yeah.
for 2 years or something, and he earned a fortune, like when he did. But as soon as he was out the door, I reapplied, and I got me 6 months.
That's gas, isn't it? That's amazing. Jeez, I mean,
And then I got the 6 months, and then I was in a quandary again, you know, and Gerard said, look, you want to do it, look, do it, you know.
Yeah.
So did the second 6 months, and then there was, the time came around again, like, I applied for the third
shot of it.
the third 6 months. So I was politely told to, well, shit or get off the pot, you know, kind of in more polite terms. But so then I really didn't know what to do, so I talked to Ger about it, and she says, you better do it, because you'll go mad if you don't, and she says, I can't see me being around if you don't get on with it and do it. And like Dónal was very influential as well, Dónal Lunny. Which, fair play to him, it's great.
Like it's a big step.
He said he showed me all the positives, you know. So.
But them years, I mean, just looking at your life in music, like them years between 1975 and 1980. I mean, there was the Bothy Band albums. There was your own solo album. There was 2 Planxty albums in there. There's yourself and Tommy Peoples, Paul Brady's album. There's the Noel Hill and Dónal Lunny album. You joined the Chieftains in '79. It's just, I mean, I'm just looking at it going, sorry, and then yourself and Gerard married. Peter, you were on the scene. Was Niamh born around that time as well?
I was on tour in the one trip we did to the States and Canada. I was asleep behind a sofa. In an apartment. Mick Casey was a friend of mine, and he was in charge of some of this tour. It was mad. But I decided to had enough.
Have a crash.
I crashed in behind the sofa, between the wall and the back of the sofa. And then the word came in that
Niamh had arrived.
Niamh had arrived.
Wow.
So
but no, like I mean, so all that, right, and then throw in about a TB as well, like, you know, it just seems incredible. I mean, it was and the quality of the work, like, is stunning. Like, I mean, and all of them albums stack up. Myself and Peter were just talking about it. Been listening to a lot of the Bothy Band recently. I mean, they're as fresh today as they were 40 odd years ago. I mean,
it worked anyway. We were proud of that. We were proud of the
it's spectacular music. Did you, like, it is, isn't it? I mean, like, it's like, it really is. I mean, just listening back and you just go, Jesus. And like, you set the template for other people to follow, but you were breaking the mold. Like, I mean, it was. Did you realise yourselves that you were creating something very special?
No, not really. I mean, we knew there was. Well, there was more. We took more of an interest in it, particularly Dónal and Mícheál and Tríona. You know, like, and they would work out. I wouldn't call it accompaniment, because it was like I had it interwoven into the fabric of the tunes, and in a respectful way, and with a lot of punch and drive, and that was kind of basically how it worked, you know. I'd come in with a set of tunes, a bunch of tunes, and we just go to work on them. And Dónal would be probably the main man, but Mícheál and Mícheál would be probably more thoughtful, you know. Mícheál would go away with a tune. And like, he'd do something with it today, but come back the next time and he'd do something wonderful with it, you know. It was that type. Dónal would bang out 3 different ways of doing something, you know, like just as quick as he could play them, you know. He was a remarkable man, Dónal,
But I mean, they're remarkable recordings. But then the live stuff. But I mean, one thing that struck me about the albums and recording and the live stuff. The energy was amazing. Like, I mean, it must have been a great buzz playing on stage. with that band?
Yeah, when it was going well, you got a good buzz out of it, all right. Yeah.
It must have been super.
It's good fun, yeah.
And you can see, like in the stuff that's televised, you can see the audience reaction and like how much people were into it, and like it was like the Bothy Band, like they had a huge impact, and they, like as you mentioned earlier, they attracted an awful lot of people into the tradition that, you know, that mightn't necessarily have seen it as cool. It probably paved the way for me coming along. But I always wondered, how did the older generations of musicians, did you get any kickback? Did you get pats on the back? Did you get kicks in the arse? Like,
there was an element of that too, yeah. I used to play with the Mícheál Band as well, with John Joe Gardner, and he was the boss man of the.
So you won an All-Ireland actually then, did you?
3. Well, I was with them for 2 of them anyway.
Yeah.
They were lovely people, But John Joe was a character too. Yeah. That's it. I say, no, is it this band of yours that you're involved with? No, this other band. He says, oh, the music is good. He says, but you're playing too fast. Too fast. Yeah. And so John Egan used to be the same.
Used John say that to you?
Oh yeah. Well, no. When we were when we'd be playing in the group, he said, "That's too fast. It's too fast." He said, "Slow that down."
Yeah. But John used to say that to me as well.
But I know you have to correct yourself because you start saying you forget I forget sometimes then the age I am, you know, and I'd be listening to some of the younger. Oh, jeez, I don't know if I like that or not. You know, being overly critical, and it's just people doing what they do, you know, and nothing stays the same, not exactly anyway. But the beauty about the music is like you have the hardcore, you know, like, and it's still there, and you can see it coming through. And I'm at the point, the way I think about it, the way I see it. Do whatever you want, you know. I mean, in the early days, it was a bit critical, you know, like in the late 50s and 60s, and there was a serious. I'd say like the likes of Liam and Tommy Peoples and Seán Keane and of our era, of our age group, like we were really felt that we were conduits of the music to bring it forward, rather than experiment overly. Yeah. You know, like the hardcore had to be true to the hardcore.
Had to be right.
Because at that time there was a genuine feeling that it was being, you know, was fading out. You know, and you know, I remember giving out about Horslips and people like that. And you know, when you listen to it now, you say, hey, good luck. You know, you get on.
Sure.
You know,
No, and
so you have people inventive now, you know, and they're doing all sorts of things, and let them off. Yeah, some of it I can't bloody stand. But some of it's, you know, really good. Yeah.
But that I think we're all the same. But that whole thing about like that's something that's new and different, you know, like Sean Potts told me once before that when Mícheál Ó Súilleabháin ran to go, that Brendan Branagh called him aside and said, "Sean, what are you doing playing with that crowd?" and Sean said, "Brendan,
that's Morewood."
Yeah, Sean said, I'm having the time of my life. That's what he said. That's what I'm doing, Brendan. But, there you go. So there you go. So Mícheál Ó Súilleabháin got, and the Bothy Band got, and look at the impact the Bothy Band had. There was a thing, and this is pure nosiness. Did Tommy Potts ever pass any comment on your version of the Butterfly? Did he tell you he liked it, he didn't like it, or?
God, I can't remember. I think he did. I think he did actually.
Yeah, because I'd say to let you know if he didn't like it, you know.
Well, if you want to dig in further, like I mean, the Butterfly was 2 tunes. Yeah. That he amalgamated into the Butterfly.
His own, like, there
were 2 different jigs. Wouldn't that be right?
I've heard it said, I think, and so. But at the same time, I still think Tommy made a beautiful piece of music.
He did, absolutely, yeah.
But, and then there's the gorgeous one as well, the Weaver. There's another City girl, or some people call it the Loom. It's gorgeous. Another tune. beautiful. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
He was a very very individual. You only met him, I don't know, maybe half a dozen times, I'd say.
Yeah.
But fascinating character, yeah.
Yeah.
He was out there, yeah.
Yeah. I was very lucky to meet Tommy Potts through Seán Potts. Seán Potts
Sure,
Senior.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a couple of memorable journeys home from Napier late at night with Tommy in the front seat and myself and young Seán in the back, and Paddy Bond might have been in the car as well. Some
good character too, yeah.
Some great nights. But then the Bothy Band, Trina, Mícheál and Kevin went to America, and the Bothy Band ended.
Yeah, pretty much. It got to the point we decided to give it a break.
Yeah.
Initially, that was the plan. Give it a 6 months break and see where we were at. And then I met up with Kevin Flynn over in London.
Oh yeah.
And he's from Colony.
Yeah.
Sligo. He ran the Boys of Ballaghadereen Festival,
yeah.
which I would still say was one of the best festivals ever. You know, when it's in its heyday. But I remember drinking with him one night, and in London, and you know, he was saying, "What's the story with the band?" And I said, "Now we had been off the road for about 3-4 months at this stage."
Yeah.
And he said, "What's the story with the band?" And I said, "Oh, well, you know, we got a bit burned out and we decided we'd have a look." And he said, "Yeah," he was asking us, you know, what sort of monies were in. And I told him, and he says, "Oh, Jesus, I could better that with me eyes closed, you know."
Yeah. Yeah.
He was an accountant.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, really, you know?" And he says, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Well, you know, give us some idea what you might be able to do."
Yeah.
So he came back, and then I got onto the lads,
Yeah.
and he put a tour together for Ireland and England.
Yeah.
And that was the best tour that we ever did.
Well,
Profitable,
Yeah.
profit-wise, anyway. But at that stage, the die was sort of cast. Kevin was bent on going to the States, and Mícheál and Trina were on the way out as they wanted to go as well. And that was kind of it, really. We did that tour, and then that finished that, and then I was doing a few bits and pieces. I think I did a few. We've done something with Liam or Flynn. Did a few little tours, and with Frankie Gavin, and we're doing one or two with him. Joe Burke. We're doing around the pubs, you know.
Yeah.
And the Dónal was working on they decided to bring Planxty back on the road, and I was asked to come along for the ride.
Yeah.
I think I was, to be honest, I think I was kind of a catalyst, you know, because I was close with Liam, you know, and I was close with Dónal, and I knew them all pretty well. But I didn't know Andy very well at that time, you know, but I knew Christy and particularly Liam, you know, because we did on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And like it was just it was a project. We went down the country. Beside Greg Namana, and we were there for a week, and we put the After the Break album together.
That's a great album. Yeah.
And toured and recorded that, and then toured it around Europe.
Yeah.
And that was that project. And then there was that was probably around the time then that Seán Potts and Mick Tuberty retired from the band, from the Chieftains.
Yeah.
So then I was asked to
I was wondering that, because I just doing the timeline. I was like, because then you're playing on the One I Love So Well album as well. After the break.
Oh right, yeah.
So then you were in the Chieftains as well. So I was going like, did Paddy poach Matt from
Not
Planxty
at all. No. That was just about. That happened quite. The tone. There was one song on it. I think. I just wandered into the studio, like we were doing something else, and I wandered into the studio when Planxty wrote. Yeah. And they said, would you put something with that? And I just did a thing on the B flat.
Yeah, it's lovely. Is the last track in the album? It's gorgeous.
Something
yeah,
like that.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
It was just coincidentally.
Right, okay. Yeah. So then, the Chieftains. Your first gig was in front of 1 million people in the Phoenix Park. 1 million plus people, was it?
Yeah, we did the Carolyn's Welcome.
At the paper. I was there with a little paper flag. I was in on my little stool. I was.
Yeah, that was kind of memorable. Yeah. And the other funny part of that too was I was bothered because it was Brendan Griffin's wedding and he was getting married down in Ennis.
Right.
And it was the same day.
Oh,
And I was saying, really, I said, he's one of my best friends. I said, I'd love to get down there, you know, what time it would be finished, that kind of thing. So one thing led to another anyway, and they gave me a police escort. And we had four motorcycles, a squad, and another 4 motorcycles.
Brilliant. And you booted down the road?
All the way down to Lucan, after we got off the stage,
Brilliant.
And I was driving along in my little Renault 9 or something.
That's fantastic.
With all this big entourage. But anyway, we got to the wedding. And
a police escort organised by the Catholic Church for Matt Molloy. That's great. But I always like, so when you joined the Chieftains, right? They had 8 albums under their belt already. Like, they're a very established band. They'd already filled the Royal Albert Hall. So what was that like coming in then? Like, I know you would have known the members of the band. Did you feel under pressure? Did you feel you had to change your style of playing?
I felt very relaxed, in fact, because at that time it was just it was a very comfortable place for me at that time.
Yeah.
You know, because Seán was there, like I knew Seán well, and I played with Seán.
Yeah.
And just loved his playing, and he's one of the tops. Yeah. And of course, I've been playing with Paddy years before that, anyway. You know, so there was no stress there.
I was wondering that, do you think then? I was wondering, like yourself and Seán, like, I mean, it's an absolutely superb duet, and like, but on Boiler Breakfast Early, there's a tune where the two of you take off, just the flute and fiddle, and it's beautiful. Is that the first recorded duet of the two of you playing, or had you recorded before?
No, I think that was probably it. Yeah.
And like, God, I mean, like, what came after it over all the years, like, I mean, but very, very, very much a memorable one.
Oh, it's great to play with. Like, I mean, he's such a brilliant musician.
The other thing then is, I mean, looking at your discography, looking at the career, I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, I mean, like, you're talking 35 plus albums, because I guarantee that there's albums that aren't in there that would have been there with the Chieftains. I mean, 6 Grammy Awards, and then all the other awards, all the other nominations. I mean, there's no other band that'll ever come next nor near doing that, you know. And then on like all the touring that you did, all the huge concerts that you did, I mean, how did you do it? I mean, how did you stay at that level for so long? I mean, it's a phenomenal achievement.
Well, you could thank Paddy for that, I suppose. Well, we'd be playing anyway, if you know what I mean. But no, he was a driven man, you know. Paddy was, and he led by example. You know, like, I mean, he had, you know, he had a level that he wanted to maintain, and he just went with it.
He was an amazing character. I mean, a huge loss to traditional music, and I mean, huge loss to yourselves. Obviously, you feel it more so than anybody.
Yeah, he was good. He was a good band leader. Yeah. As John Kelly used to call him, Little Napoleon. Napoleon.
He was amazing. Like, I mean, and like since he passed away, I've been listening to a lot of the Chieftains music, a lot of his music. I mean, like, as a musician, he was phenomenal. I mean, like, on whistle and pipes, his whistle playing was
super.
He
was very talented, like, and he could improvise and counter melody, like, at the top of a hat. Like, I just didn't even think about it. You know, I'd be scratching my head for a week now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my thing either. No, it just, I mean, like,
he was
actually
very good.
They make, I mean, the Irish phrase, like, "Ní bheidh leithéad an arís," it's like something seen again. It's just made for him. Like, I mean, see, he was unique.
He was a one-off.
Yeah, he was
for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's all them years of like playing at these amazing stages, like, but like so you're playing with the best bunch of traditional musicians out there. You're playing, like you're superb musicians. I'm not putting anybody in any rank above anybody else. I'm just saying you're playing with superb musicians, and then you're meeting great musicians from other cultures, playing in great venues. Was it always easy, or were there times when you go, oh, here we go again?
There was a fair bit of, oh.
Was there? Yeah, was there? Yeah, I often wonder that.
Not again.
Yeah, yeah.
I joke about it, but probably the ones that I was most comfortable with, it would be the James Galway albums. It was a new James anyway, Jimmy from way back.
Yeah.
And we got on. We're still good friends. I was talking to him only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, great.
It was his 84th birthday. Right. I made a little video for him. His genie contacted me. And made a little video, happy birthday, and played a bit of a tune.
Lovely.
But anyway, they would have been that and the Galician album from the north of Spain, and the Breton album.
Yeah.
They would have been really my favourites. And then the Canadian one.
Yeah.
We did with the Cape Bretoners and those guys as well.
Yeah.
Women. Let's see. And then I enjoyed the bluegrass albums.
Sure. Yeah.
And they did a country album as well with Tom Jones and all of those people in it. I enjoyed that, but there was some of the other stuff like there was, I was there, but
sure, yeah,
but it wouldn't be my comfort zone, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's another thing then I was thinking, like, so like you're exposed to all these great musicians from different cultures. Like, I know your heart is a traditional musician, but like, did any of it ever rub off in your own playing? Did you ever, was it
not
like,
really, no.
Like I know other flute players would be listening to Indian flute music, or it's.
No, I never did. No, never. If I wanted,
you got enough in what you have.
Like by the time, and I've said it before, by the time I'm good enough, I'll be too old. Yeah. And here I am. That's the truth.
Yeah, no, I get it totally. Yeah. No. Then the other thing is that, like, I was great, and like this maybe is just me coming from a flute playing perspective, but I mean, I always had it that like, okay, so you joined the Chieftains, but you didn't become, and this is over like you're 42 or 43 years playing with the Chieftains. Like, you didn't become the flute player of the Chieftains. It was Matt Molloy who was playing with the Chieftains. I mean, that's some, like, so I mean, there was, like, apart from all the huge touring that you were doing with that and all them huge albums that there was all, like, I mean, there's Contentment as well. There's The Fire of Flame. There's like your work with John Carty. Well, there's all great work happening as well. Like,
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I mean, you just get a little bit frustrated. I'd get frustrated, and and you'd have bits of music churning around in your head, and you just want to express them. So, you get to the point of, if I didn't do something, I just feel like I'm egging an omelette, if you know what I mean, or I'm egging somebody else's omelette. So you just get out and do your own bits and pieces for what it's worth, and that's it. You just enjoy that, I just love playing with John. John Carty's a great player. Done bits and pieces with Frankie Gavin and of course with Seán, Seán Keane. I'll be playing with Seán now in a few months' time, I think. Yeah,
great to hear.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Yeah. Great.
The only sad part about it is that Artie is gone.
Artie's gone.
Yeah, I really miss Artie McGlennie. I was very, very fond of that man. We were great pals, and
he was wonderful.
Yes,
he was absolutely wonderful.
Playing with him for over 50 years.
Funny, I was wondering where did you first meet Artie? Because I mean, like, you had such a combination and playing together. Like,
it was. Jesus, I'm not quite sure. Might have been in the meeting place or something like that. Way back, even before then. Yeah. And I got to know him when I was playing with him before I realised that I had been, that his uncle, they used to call to the house,
right,
and they'd often collect maybe Willie Coleman or Dan Healy, and
Right.
them lads, they bring them
Yeah.
up. They're from Carnaree,
Yeah.
and they bring them up to the house and the tunes going. But I'd known Archie for a couple of years before.
Before you made that connection.
The connection that I'd actually played with his uncle before I'd met
gas,
Archie. Yeah. He was a lovely player. Can you think of his name?
No, I can't.
Feely Carney.
Aye, very good, fair play.
Feely Carney was his uncle, yeah. And a grand fiddle player, nice, lovely fiddle player.
Yeah. Artie was something else, and just as a musician and as a person, he really was. He was
great.
He
We
was
had
great.
times together, yeah. Well, I suppose, speaking of dead friends, Scarron the Campana,
Gorgeous, yeah.
parting of friends.
absolutely lovely.
I can think of it now.
Gorgeous. Oh, talk about fitting. Like we're sitting here, and like the walls are surrounded with memorabilia and friends past and present, and like any time I walk into this pub, I can just remember the great nights, fun and crack that we've had here over the years. Been some great nights, and like just the great fáilte and welcome from Ger, and the great nights fun. Honestly, they're just and Claire as well. I mean, two beautiful people, but that was just beautiful tune. That gorgeous, and couldn't have been more fitting, actually. Fair play to you. The pub, how important has that been for you as a musician and as a person?
Well, it was very important, you know, because I suppose in the early days, you know, when I was with the Chieftains, like you were with the Bothy Band and with Planxty, you were sort of a free spirit, you know, if you know what I mean. And everybody was in with their tuppence worth or whatever, lads, but it was the Chieftains, and for the better too, I'd have to say. It was a more controlled environment, if you like, in the context of the band and Paddy and all the rest of it. And I suppose it got a bit tiresome, like, I mean, after 8 or 9 years of it. And you just felt that you were, I just felt I was kind of...
in the omelette?
Well, yes. yeah. So I remember drinking and doing whatever else you do, you know, with Archie and late at night and drinking whatever else and talking about I used to slag about getting out under the wire, you know, have to get out of this some way or other. So anyway, between the reels and the jigs, I decided to go for. I said nothing to anybody, you know, just went ahead and.
Well,
I said I don't want to hear a word about it until I know that I have it, that it's mine. And I happened to be in Brittany at the time, and I got the phone call around 11 o'clock at night. They put me through the solicitor, and he told me, you know, that I had the place was mine.
Yeah.
You know, so. But it was just sort of a sense of freedom, and then I said, okay, I'll give the Chieftains 2 years now. That's it.
Yeah.
If the pub works,
yeah,
I'll give the Chieftains 2 years.
yeah,
And of course the pub went well.
yeah.
Went, thank Touchwood and thank the people of Westport and environs and all the rest of it. And musicians, that really went well from the word go. And but once I knew I had my back door,
Yeah.
I could leave then.
Yeah.
Once I had that, you know, it just freed my head up, really, you know.
Sure.
And I said, now I can do what I like. But like that was, that was 40 years ago. Like 42 years at the Chieftains. There was. I mean, we're finished now, but that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was still with them because my whole attitude to the band changed, and indeed Paddy's attitude changed too.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, that was it.
You said the Chieftains are finished now. Are the Chieftains finished now?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm not saying there's been no discussions or anything like that, but I think it's run its course. You know, it's run its course. Yeah. And I mean, you could probably have a Chieftains, and it would be financially to be successful or whatever else, and probably musically as well. I don't know. But I couldn't get involved. I just couldn't. It's finished. It's over.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, it's run its course, and it was a great run.
What a legacy you've left. Like, I mean, honestly, it's.
But you know, you have to saw the way it happened with the Dubliners. You know, like it. Yeah. And it just sort of kind of didn't.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Like it was the Dubliners, but it wasn't the Dubliners. You know,
sure.
So.
Yeah.
You know, why bother? Why do it? You know. I just certainly don't. Anyway.
I know you came to Dublin and you did the Kyoto course, but and so you graduated from Ballyfermot College. But I mean, this is your university. I mean, you'd have played more music here than.
Probably would have, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean,
just sessions and that kind of crack, yeah.
Absolutely, and meeting musicians and hearing musicians, but must have been great for you, like.
Yeah, it's been great, yeah. It's just.
And Matt, for yourself, he was getting too easy a ride there. I had to.
I know.
He was getting away with murder, but
happy out here.
I know, yeah. But it must be great for you to keep you fresh, like.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure there are times you want to run away from it as well, like that.
That's true.
Yeah,
but no, I still enjoy coming down for a blast every now and again. Yeah. I mean, I probably don't do it as often as I used to now, you know. But Jesus, you know, there's only so much you can do, you know.
Around the time the music from Matt Molloy, I used to be down regularly, but there was.
Yeah, that was great. That worked well.
That was great. That was great fun.
And it was a good. We enjoyed that.
So what a weekend!
CD,
really
that,
was. Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah, that was funny. I was asking them to hang the mics from the ceiling here.
Yeah.
Because known traditional musicians, you know, like you see mics and stuff like that. Fuck, you know. But anyway, they had these goosenecks all plastered down on one of these tables, you know, about 4 or 5 mics all over the place. And it was all set up, and I was still dubious about it. But anyway, this was on the Thursday evening, and we went over to get a bite to eat across the road in one of the restaurants. And about an hour later, we came back, and you went in the front door, you could hear this blast of music coming from in here. Yeah. And I looked down, and they were over in the far corner, Oh, the furthest away
Furthest
we could
away.
get away from the mics.
Yeah.
Then I had to come back in and play a couple of tunes with them, and then coax them back to where
What was going to happen?
Mark Murray had the DAT machine upstairs.
I remember.
And he had to come down to the roof there, the lead coming down.
But then of course what happened was that we'd all be sitting
But you
here
were banging
playing.
and clicking and hitting mics and everything, and there was nothing got out of Thursday night. And I said, lads, put the mics up, whatever chance we have, put them up. You know, so there 4 mics hanging up off the ceiling there.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But then of course, right, when we were recording the thing, we all forgot that there were microphones there, and it turned into a session where we started just talking and having a crack. And
There was one incident where James Murray and Peter Horton, there was 4 of them that were playing, and whatever, the crack was going good, and forgot about the mics, and James Murray, flute player, he started playing the fiddle, and he started playing the fiddle, and Peter was playing the flute. And they got confused anyway. Like man was upstairs and he was trying to figure out what was going on. You know, they'd swapped instruments. Anyway, we got through it.
We're getting to the end, and there's like, not only like, I mean, you've done so much for flute playing, right? I mean, like you've been the benchmark for years and years and years of excellence. Now you have. I know you don't like hearing this, but you have. You know, and I mean, but not only have you taken the flute to places where it wouldn't have been expected to go worldwide. I mean, it was up in space. I mean, you can't have a more stellar career than that, man. I mean, in fairness, like you have to accept it and acknowledge it. And when I was talking about the Chieftains, right, I didn't mention the 4 albums, 4 brilliant albums you made in all the time. I mean, it's an amazing life. I don't like calling it a career because I think it's the most spectacular career I've ever come across in music. But I mean, I think it's actually driven by a huge passion that you have for music.
Well, I love the music. There's no.
I think so. Like, knowing you, I think it is.
We're talking about Katie Coleman, about the up in space.
Flute in space.
I gave her the E flat, the Hawks.
Yeah.
I don't know, they'd be built around
precious
18,
instrument, like for you.
Yeah. But Katie's great. Like she's a great pal, and I'd know her for ages. Like from the time we were down in Houston, we met Paddy Maloney, Paddy's son, was working for NASA at the time, and he brought a whole bunch of them to one of our concerts, and that's how we met up. And because we gravitated towards one another, because she was a flute player, you know. Yeah. But then when she said she was going on her little trip, she asked did I have a flute that she could borrow, because she was playing a bomb system and she wanted to learn she wanted to play the open system, simple system flute. But she used to ring me from the space station. And she said, if you check now, she said, we're probably crossing over now. It seems to be a clear night down there.
Brilliant.
And you'll be out in the land. He says,
could you see her? Yeah. Amazing.
You could see her coming across,
But what struck me about that is that, like, you imagine, right? Anything that goes onto a spaceship or a space station or a shuttle, right, is weighed and is tested, and nothing is going into space unless it's extremely valuable or relevant, right? So I mean, it says an awful lot about your international, work as an artist. That like Matt Molloy's flute is going up in space. You don't think, I just want to bring a flute with me, like. So I mean, it's and by the way, I mean, and I really mean this genuinely. The rest of us all benefited by that, because we all got the reflected glow from you. So I mean, like you made life so much easier, and you paved the way for us. So, and like that honestly needs to be acknowledged. No, I'm very serious about that. Now I know you don't like hearing all that stuff, but anyway, but it has to be said. For some young player, right, be it flute player or young musician, who might be sitting at that or looking at the Chieftains or looking at any other great bands you played in, or your solo stuff, and would be interested in following your footsteps, what advice could you give them?
Study accountancy.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. I get that one totally. I totally get that. Yeah. Any more advice? Yeah.
Because the music business is it's noted for its sharks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to be careful. And the thing is, well, I have to say, we weren't careful in a lot of situations. Yeah. But Paddy was astute enough that way, Paddy Moloney. But in the earlier days, like with the Planxty thing, with the Bothy Band, you get it, you know. Yeah. So that's, I maybe be joking about it, but it's true. Like, I mean, you have to be, if you want to do it professionally, you want to be careful about those things. But it's if you're motivated towards something, or you have, you'll follow through. You know, if you're consistent.
Yeah.
I think consistency is the thing, and what especially for flute players is, you know, like in the early stage, you just need to play, you know, and if it's hardship, well, forget about it, you know. But it's, you know, you have to have the want.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why. I just wanted to play this stupid thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and just wanted to do it, and you know, it gave me great solace too. Like it's helped me in a lot of ways. And like when Geraldine was ill, it saved my bacon really. I just used to go into the room, and I'd be really getting down, and you're sort of the leader of the pack, and you have to kind of show a bit of leadership, and you know, with the rest of the family, and when things start getting me down, I just go in and I'd play, and in the early years, I just wouldn't want to play, but I'd make myself go in and play, and pick up could be any tune, it could be the Doom Reel, or it could be the Mountain Road, or something simple. And I just played and played and played, and maybe after 2 or 3 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever long, the penny would drop, or you'd go through the portal, if you like, and you'd start playing music rather than be bothered about what was going on outside. Yeah. And when you go through the portal, then you're just playing music, you know, and then next thing you're into something else, into another tune, or into something else, and that leads into some, oh Jesus, I have that in a tape somewhere, and then you go mooching around for the tape, and you come out an hour later, and you're grand again, you're fine. Yeah. And really, it was very, very helpful. Great. Same way with when Claire was ill too. It was a bad time, you know. Of course, it was an awful time for all of us.
Of course, it was. It was a horrendous time.
It was a horrible time. Yeah.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that music was a help, you know.
Oh, serious, yeah. Oh, big time, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
great.
Jesus, yeah.
Great to hear. Matt and Peter, I mean, thank you so much, the pair of you. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege sitting here. Like, I mean, honestly, we've talked about this stuff over the years, but it's been great. Honestly, the opportunity to do this is wonderful.
Sense or not, but
no, it's wonderful.
You made it very easy, anyway.
No, it's great. I mean, like we could talk for hours, but I mean, thank you so much. Really, honestly, it's great, Matt.
And thank you.
You know, we play a couple of tunes and finish up.
Yeah.
And again, thanks to the Irish Traditional Music Archive, because I mean, it's been a huge privilege and pleasure to do this, and it really has, very important. So thank you. So we give it a wrap up. Yeah.